Hey everybody, it's Tara again, reading from my Faces of Autism book for the month of April. And I'm going to continue on with a story about young Brayden. Did I get that in there? It's hard for me to see. There, Brayden, big Gopher football fan. So I'm just going to read the story. It's a little bit longer than the other ones, but I had a lot to say. So here we go. When Brayden's mom sent in their application for the book, I knew her name seemed familiar, but I had been photographing children and families for over 11 years, and sometimes names blended together. I didn't recall who she was until I arrived at their house for a session and saw beautiful images of her children on their walls, ones that I had taken years before, and suddenly I recalled that session very vividly. Years earlier, before Brayden was diagnosed with autism, I had photographed him and his family of 4. I recalled seeing similarities between my son Alex and Brayden. Brayden was 3 years old at the time, and his parents didn't know that he had autism yet. I mostly saw the lack of engagement that I usually see with children his age. He didn't really want anything to do with me or my camera. He had a lack of willingness to perform and please his parents by doing what they asked. And at 3 years old, that's kind of common that the kids want to, they're pretty easygoing and want to do things that others ask of them, adults ask of them. They know, they have that need to please a little bit. And I recall that Brayden just wasn't interested. So he was very content to peacefully watch the clouds and listen to the airplanes overhead. I suspected Brayden fell somewhere on the autism spectrum, and I could feel the frustrations and worry from his parents that went unspoken. I wanted to say something, but what? Knowing that my own experience with learning my son had autism was a very tough pill to swallow, I knew it wasn't my place to suggest it to them. I saw in Brayden's family my own struggle a few years prior, and I knew that they had to find their own way on the autism path. I could only hope for the best and do my best for them that day. So I photographed Brayden and his family that day with patience and care and loving his unique way of viewing the world, and I went on my way. But I often wondered about that little boy. And then years later, there I was on Brayden's doorstep again, and I got to see firsthand how remarkably well he was doing. The synchronicity of it all blew me away. So what did Brayden's family go through after our first session? His mom writes, "When Brayden was diagnosed with autism at age 4, I thought my world was crumbling down. I was grieving the loss of a child I thought I was going to have. I knew he was going to have to face challenges his entire life. Years of therapy turned into years of progress, though, and he has amazed me time and time again. He has been able to exceed goals that I never thought were possible for him to accomplish. As a parent, I mistakenly thought I'd be the one to teach my child, but it is Brayden who has actually taught me. While we've had many, many plateaus and stepped backwards, yet he's taught me to never stop believing in him and never stop hoping for progress." Absolutely. I'm so grateful I got to reconnect with Brayden and his family, and it really brought home the reason I wanted to write this book, hope. Brayden's mom goes on to say, "When people learn that Brayden has autism, I often hear things like, 'But he doesn't look like he has autism.' I have no idea what autism looks like. They'll say, 'But he seems so smart.' But he looks at me when I talk to him, and those things are all true, and I feel very blessed that he is verbal and bright. Most people don't know about all the hard stuff, and we just have to deal with so much hard stuff, and I would just rather focus on and remember the awesome stuff." Yeah, so Brayden is very, verbal, and on the surface doesn't seem to be typical in the autism world, but that kind of speaks to the diversity in the different capabilities in autism. So what's hard for one isn't hard for another. So Brayden is bright, gifted bright. Math is his superpower. He sees equations and answers in his head. Whoa. However, that can be overlooked at times. Brayden's processing and verbal skills are a bit slower. So Brayden teaches us that we can't judge someone by how quick-tongued they are. If it takes someone a bit longer than others to answer, it might be because they are processing things internally. On the other hand, Brayden's moves with the football are not slow. I had to be really quick with my shutter to catch him in action. He loves sports, and more sports. I loved his session because it shows how children with autism are children first. He was eager to show off his moves, and once I was done with the football shots, he wanted to move on to basketball, and I think if I had been willing, he would have gone through all of the sports with me. Now here's a couple more pictures of Brayden. Yeah, he was fast. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think he was trying to outrun my camera. Like I said, I did a lot of chasing in these sessions. Words of wisdom from his parents. Allow yourself some time to grieve after the diagnosis. It's normal and it's healthy. This isn't what you planned, but it's your new normal. And I can't promise your life will get easier, but you will get better at dealing with it. Build a network of other autism families around you. The benefits of speaking to other parents who get it are immeasurable. Learn all you can about autism. Educate yourself about their therapies, laws, and what your school district has to offer. You are your child's best advocate. Pick your battles. When you feel as though you might lose your mind, remember that you aren't walking this journey alone. Many have walked it before you, and someday you will probably inspire another parent. Keep your sense of humor. Autism isn't funny, but it sure does create some situations that we can laugh about. And don't forget to take care of yourself. Being a caregiver to any child with special needs can be overwhelming, stressful, exhausting, and often thankless. So what refuels you? Maybe it's some alone time, exercising, or a hobby. Schedule it on your calendar. Make self-care a priority. You have less of yourself to give if you're not filling up your own tank. Boy, that's some great advice. And I hope some of that maybe resonated for you. All right, we'll take this up again tomorrow with the next chapter. Bye.